Okay, right, here we are. We're back again. I don't even ask me what episode number this is.
No, we've done a few now, and yeah, it's a nighttime session. We normally do these on Sunday morning, but I was supposed to be going to the cinema. It didn't happen, but there you go. So we're doing it on a Monday night. But good to be back, as always, and yeah, on to another exciting topic.
Yeah, exactly. We're racking them up. So we were just saying that we this one is quite a big topic that we want to discuss today. So we might just do a short kind of see how this goes. It may be that we need to do some follow-ups, but the topic that and it's weird as well because these ones they just sort of naturally rise to the surface as topics which we want to discuss. And it's the question is why is it so difficult to quit drinking alcohol? Gosh, I mean, talk
Good
about a big,
start.
yeah, talk about a big subject. But I think that from my perspective, clearly there's a whole raft of things. But I was thinking about it today, and I think one of the big things with alcohol is that I think it sells you on a promise of something that I think most people think they really want. It sells you on this idea of something that you basically need to, have a good time, something that's going to make celebrating a lot more straightforward. And what it does is it actually delivers something pretty much completely different.
Yeah.
The the idea and the thought, the prospect of what you're going to get is never really what you do get. Now, if you are somebody that has one glass of wine or two drinks and that's it, then your experience is probably never going to be any different, and it's certainly not going to be problematic. But if you like most of us, where you are you know susceptible to having a few more than you'd intended, it's like I said, it sort of sells you on this idea of alcohol being something which is going to make the night. It's gonna make the day. I heard a saying once which was interesting, which is um, it was somebody in the States actually. This was back in the days when I did drink, and we were talking about people who didn't drink. And she said, "Yeah," she said, "Imagine not drinking." She said, "Imagine waking up in the morning and thinking that this is as good as you're going to feel all day." And I sort of laughed and agreed with her at the time, but actually now that I look back on it, I think it casts a really different perspective on the whole thing for me, because what I found having quit drinking now that I don't drink at all is that actually you feel great all the time and you don't need that perceived the sort of sugar rush, the excitement of alcohol. So I think that's the first thing that I wanted to touch on, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. Just this idea that it kind of sells itself as being the thing that's going to, make or break the evening, or it's the thing that you need to unwind. It's the thing that you need to, celebrate with. But in fact, it actually delivers something completely different. And then I think the other one is just the social thing, just the sort of James Bond is a heavy drinker, but he makes it look really, really cool. Modern media and entertainment makes booze seem really, really appealing, and it's just become such a I don't know how it happened, but it's almost just woven into the fabric of society, and it's so ingrained that you know, of course, it's going to be difficult to stop doing that. Why, to stop doing the thing that almost everybody else on the planet is doing is not easy. So, yeah, take a pause for a breath. I mean, any sort of thoughts on that, or anything to add on those 2 points?
Absolutely, yeah. I think great points, and I'm going to kind of come at this from two angles, and I'm going to carry on with your angle to start with because I 100% agree. We are, we went through it as well. We our heyday was what, the 80s, the 90s, and we were brought up around alcohol. We were brought up, not no one let's get this straight, sets out to have a problem with alcohol. That's just, a given. But you are pushed towards it. I would say 90% of people in the world are pushed towards alcohol. It is something we associate with good times. It's something we associate with celebration. It's something we associate that can help us if we are feeling sad. It's something we associate that can, make us more interesting, and all these crazy, crazy things. And so, why is it quitting so hard? Because it is so ingrained. You are odd if you don't drink. You are different, and that is mad, really. It is just crazy to me now that I've stopped drinking. And I was the same as you before. And what you said earlier, I would have said the same thing about God. Imagine this being the best you ever feel is being sober. How boring. But actually, that's a conditioning that we've been pushed towards. Whereas, I keep going back to this, and I talk to people about it a lot. Think about when you were a kid. Were you bored? No, you weren't. You had the time of your life. You were out with your friends, you were doing things, you were up in the morning, you were busy, the days lasted forever, the summers lasted forever, you have memories, or hopefully you do. I know some people had hard upbringings, and I appreciate that, but there must be some memory there of good times. And I think, we then get pushed towards alcohol as if to say, well, you don't, you're going to get bored now, so have some of this. And I think it's crazy, and I could talk about that forever, and we'll touch on it more, definitely. But I said I'd cut it in two because I want to go to the other extreme. And the other extreme is, why is it so hard to quit alcohol? And I think for some people who are really struggling with alcohol, why it's so hard to quit is because the pain hasn't yet outweighed the pleasure. I'm actually speaking to someone at the moment, lovely guy. He's in a real pickle. He's drinking every day, and he almost, well, he does. He wants to have a rock bottom moment, and that sounds crazy. And he wants to have that moment where the pain outweighs completely the pleasure, where it becomes that point where it's so painful that you have no choice. And he even told me a story about his son getting injured in a rugby game. He and his wife are divorced, and she phoned him up, and it was like 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday or something. And she said, "Oh, he's been injured. He needs to go to hospital. Can you go and pick him up?" And he said, "No, I can't. I'm drunk." And he was expecting, in some ways, when he analyzes it afterwards now, he's a clever guy. He was like, that should have been the most horrific thing. My ex-wife should have absolutely destroyed me for that, but she didn't. She let it go. And he said, I almost wish she hadn't, to a certain extent. So I guess that's the other end of the extreme. Why quitting is so hard is because, when it's really ingrained in you, when you're kind of dependent, maybe not full blown, but you don't see anything else other than drinking. But I think that's a real, that's one end of the spectrum and the other. But I still think, that the main reason is just the way it is in society. I live in France. Everywhere I go, there's alcohol. Every shop I walk into, pretty much everything I see, is involved in that.
It's really, really fascinating, because I think if you don't really have any issues with alcohol, and lots of people don't,
I agree.
Lots of people can. It's a fun addition to their life. My wife is, I think, one of those people. My ex-business partner, he will openly say, "God, I don't want to stop drinking. I love drinking is great. There's no. He doesn't drink a lot. He doesn't. He doesn't experience any of the negatives." And so I think that we're not really talking about those people.
No,
We are talking about. And it's a spectrum, isn't it? Because I think you can be somebody who drinks, that drinks regularly, that you drink, that drinking alcohol is a sort of very much part of the fabric of how you live your life, and you are susceptible to overindulging on a fairly regular basis, and feeling the sort of regret and the pain and all the rest of it, all the way up to maybe a physical addiction. It's just at the point at which alcohol has become problematic in some
Yeah.
way, that it's holding you back. And of course, in the example that you gave of the chap that you're talking to, which is pretty common, the reality is the pain is there. Alcohol
Yeah.
is ruining the potential that guy has. It's ruining and holding back his life.
Question.
But because of the nature of alcohol, and I think this is something which maybe we're guilty actually of not, maybe not shining as a brighter light on this, is how addictive it is. It is a really fucking addictive substance. So of course it's difficult to quit, because that you're addicted. It's like it's the cognitive dissonance. It's in its purest form, something is really bad for you, but you are willing to do it anyway. And of course, the great irony to this is that it is as simple as not putting the alcohol in your mouth.
Yeah.
Once you get the other side of it and you establish a different MO, you sort of become, free of the trap that is alcohol. Then I think it's a bit like when you give up smoking, or if you drive past an office block and you see people stood outside in the freezing cold having a cigarette, and you're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Well, they're doing it because they're addicted, of course. And of course,
Yeah.
once you get through it, you don't think that. So, yeah, it is a thing. And I think that I always feel like you have the answers. I always think that I think for the most part, everybody inwardly knows what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. If you're overweight, you probably know there's a
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
why.
I 100% agree.
But doing something about it is different, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And that's another topic maybe we should talk about, which is, doing the work, actually making the change. And, it's that's something I think as well that comes with quitting, which is probably the biggest thing that I have noticed from quitting, is that you start to do the work in other areas. There are, you don't make the excuses anymore because you don't need to, if you know what I mean. Um, you do want to exercise, you do want to look good, you do want to feel good, you do want to make something of yourself. It's unbelievable, the change. And that's something we'll talk about, because I'm digressing massively here. But quitting is hard, right? It's not easy, because all of a sudden you become a completely different person in society. But what I will say about that is it is hugely rewarding, and actually you become quite interesting in a way, because people are interested in you. I, as you know, my one of my managers in the business had no idea. I had no idea. He found out the other day that I'd written this book, and started looking into it. And he wrote to me, and it was the most wonderful email out the blue. And it was full of well done and pride, and you've it's incredible, and talking about some people he knows who are going down the wrong road. And when you come back from that, and openly say, yeah, you know what, I was in a bad way, but I did something about it. And then for the rest of your life, I think you sit there and your view is, this is all in my control. I just need to do something about it. And nothing, unfortunately, and I say this to a lot of people, I say this to my kids, is no one owes you anything, right?
Mm.
If you want something, you've got to go and get it. So quitting is hard. I think it's hard because of society. I don't think the physical side of stopping drinking is particularly hard if you really want it.
Mm. Mm.
It's just adapting your life, and your life just changes. And you know what? I don't know one person, not one, who has stopped drinking, who doesn't massively prefer their life now to what it
Mm.
was before.
It is really crazy as well. I think if you're watching this and you are struggling to quit, but you would like to quit, I think it's worth being honest with yourself that there is that on some level you're addicted to this thing. But what Matt and I can tell you is that, and I think it's Kevin O'Hara's phrase, isn't it? Just stop putting the alcohol in your mouth.
Yeah.
Unless you have a, a severe physical addiction, in which case you do need to go and get professional medical help. You'll need help getting off alcohol, because it's not it can be dangerous to just sort of you need to make sure you're okay. But assuming you're just a you know functioning drinker who is really concerned about it,
Yeah.
it's not difficult. You will very likely be okay. And within a week or two, you'll be fine. And there's a guy that I've got to know in the gym that I go to. He's my age. He's a retired um, police officer. He was in the Met, actually, quite a senior guy, really super nice chap. And he decided to quit for 6 months this year. So he's what are we now? January, February, March. So he's 2.5 months into it. And I bumped into him in the gym on Saturday morning, and he came up to me and he went, "Look at us." Look at us in the gym Saturday morning. Can you believe we're working out on a Saturday morning? He said, "I was leaving the house this morning. My wife said, 'Bloody hell, you need to start drinking again. You're going to the gym on a Saturday.'" He said, I'd never normally do this." And we were laughing and joking about it. But two things struck me. Number one, he immediately looks better. He looks so much better. His face is clearer. His eyes look brighter. And I just thought, that is funny. And it was a sort of, we were having a bit of a laugh. But if you break that down, it's such a classic thing, isn't it? That why on earth would you do something that's going to basically wipe out Saturday, wipe out Sunday? You're not able to do anything of any substance because you've been out and had a bender the night before, and it's the payback is just so enormous. So going back to the topic, look, it's I think alcohol does lie to you. It fucking lies. It pretends that it's going to be. You see it on the movies. James Bond drinks 3 or 4 large whiskeys and then drives his Aston Martin in a way that requires incredible skill. In reality, none of that happens. You feel shit, you're bloated, you're farting, your breath stinks, you're sleeping in, you're looking shit. There's no glamour associated with heavy drinking, none at all. But yet, it is sort of presented in the modern world as being something which is full of glamour. And I think you have to see it for what it is. Just recently listened to another podcast about oral health, of all things. And, one of the things that a guy called Andrew Huberman, who's also done a lot on alcohol, he was saying that any more than 2 alcoholic drinks a week is really, really damaging to oral health. He said it's one of the worst things you can do, because of the sort of unique way that alcohol interacts with the body, and of course that starts with the mouth. So I think it's the list is long, but I think the reason for doing these videos is to just remind everybody that, look, just try it. Read Matt's book, reach out to us. There's a program that you can go through. There is a step-by-step guide that you can leverage, and your equilibrium, your sort of the status quo for you when you don't drink will change so significantly that that sort of disruptive, pernicious, kind of negative impact of alcohol will be something you'll fear all of a sudden, rather than something you really you look forward to, and that's where you want to get to. And it's it's a game changer.
I completely agree. I don't think I've got anything to add, but I think we should take this topic on. I think there's more to say about it. Yeah, I think really, really great choice of words. And to anyone out there who's watching, God, it might be hard, but the payback is worth a million times what it is when you're in that difficult rut of drinking and feeling shit and anxiety and just that general bad place that I'm maybe some of you are in. There is an unbelievable life out there, and don't get me wrong, it's not the silver bullet to everything, but my God, does it make things easier. So never stop trying, never give up giving up, and we'll expand this topic, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's a lot more to say.
Perfect. I agree. There's loads more to say on it. So excellent. I agree. Never quit quitting. We'll leave it there for now because I think we need to do a bit more thinking about, maybe some ideas we can come up with, plans to help. But yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Really good
And do give
topic.
us a thumbs up, do subscribe. It really, really helps. We're just a tiny little channel, but we're trying to make a difference. And, if we can get your help and if you're on board with us, then that makes a massive, massive difference.
Exactly. Brilliant. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. Cheers, Matt.
Bye bye.